Why are you saying that we need to look at this from an administrative difference between rural areas and city areas?
Do we not have doctors because there's not qualified immunity for doctors? Do we not have teachers because there's no qualified immunity for teachers? Why is this specifically there's no qualified immunity for firefighters?
Free a gun, but you don't have an individual right to not register it and things like this. So you can't talk out of both sides of your mouth.
I can when it comes to California and New York, in which a healthy chunk of counties are may issue concealed carry permit counties. Yes, it does, motherfucker. I'm literally looking at the fucking statute link right here.
All right, we'll get into this next one. Our next prompt here is, does qualified immunity need to be amended? And with that, what impact would abolishing qualified immunity have on the way policing is done? And we'll start with Andrew on this one.
So I think that people are responsible for their actions, whether that be a cop or be an individual. You are responsible for the things that you do. And ultimately, police do need to act in a way in which is moral. Okay. And now I understand that we have a distinction in what we consider to be moral. I have them, and most of you progressives don't have any. But under the illusion that maybe you would agree with me on some premise of what is moral, I do think that they have a responsibility and a duty to also live up to the consequences of what it is that they do. Now, that said, I do think that there might be some cases where immunity might be necessary, but I can't think of very many. I think that if you accept the job, you're doing the job, okay, and you do something you're not supposed to fucking do, no, I don't think you should be immune from recourse, period. As a good example of this, we saw during the lockdowns, cops were blatantly enforcing immoral laws, sweeping people off the street, shutting their businesses down, things like this. Do I think that they should be held responsible? Yeah, I do. I think that they should. And I think that they should be held responsible if they shoot unarmed people. All of this, I think, is within the confines of Christian ethics. So, yeah, I think that they should be held responsible. So on the issue of qualified immunity, I would say no immunity for your actions. You have to take responsibility for the things that you do, just like every other citizen has to.
All right, thank you. We'll go on to counterpoints now.
Yeah, I think qualified immunity is fine as long as it follows the qualified part. As I understand qualified immunity, it basically means that as long as you're doing your job properly in line with your training and experience and in line with departmental policy and the law of the land, then that means that you can't get sued. It means that you can't be held criminally accountable. So as a result, I think that's perfectly fine. If a cop does their job and somebody gets injured, or if they do and that person was resisting arrest or speeding or driving or whatever, then I don't think you should be leaving the city open to suit because you eliminated qualified immunity, and then you have to relitigate the entire concept of sovereign immunity or qualified immunity with each individual case. I think what effectively would happen if we ripped up qualified immunity is that you would push the insurance pools back down to the private sector, and all that's going to happen is a vampiric class of fucking lawyers are going to put their fucking fangs into the public teat. And I'm already sick of litigious fucking lawyers profiting off of public misery. So, no, as long as qualified immunity is actually qualified, I'm good with it. Leave it the way it is.
All right, awesome. Thank you. Now, Grey Pill.
Yeah, I agree with Counterpart said. It's pretty much use what you need wisely with everything's coming forward. Some stuff had notes on pretty much with criminal development, some of the stuff about Ku Klux Klan's enforcement acts. Yeah, I'll just leave it from there. I pretty much concede to what Counterpart's saying.
Okay, right. I guess I'm up. Or am I not up? I assume I'm up.
Yeah.
Cool.
You
Sorry.
can go
My bad. Yeah, I mean, like other professions don't have this, right? Like if a doctor does something wrong in their job as a doctor, they can still be sued. So I don't understand if there's not that immunity for doctors, if there's not that immunity for any number of other jobs that we all recognize are important jobs. I don't know why we would have that specifically for policing and not for those other things. So either you'd have to make the case that it should be for across the board, all of those different things, or it should be in the case of none of them. I think it probably shouldn't be in the case of none of them. But I think a reasonable argument could be made in either direction, so long as it's sort of universal across all of those different disciplines. But I don't understand quite why specifically policing is singled out in this way.
All righty. Next, Sanzo.
Yeah, I think that there could be changes to qualified immunity that could be okay. I understand the need for it. There is a legitimate need for, like if a cop has to get into a fight with someone who's being aggressive towards someone else, you don't want them to get sued for assault because they're, doing what they're supposed to do, keeping people that are being violent from being violent towards other people. But on this topic, I've heard really good arguments from both sides of like reducing how much protection you get from qualified immunity. I've heard really good arguments for why we should keep qualified immunity the same. It seems like one of those legal lesser of two evil type things that I don't know if there is a good answer on how to reduce it or to increase it.
All right, thank you. And STV Philly.
Yeah, so I think that we got to get rid of qualified immunity. It allows basically cops to just repeatedly violate people's rights without consequence. Reuters, Reuters did a study and they show that that victims that actually do take this to court, they lose more and more year after year because cops just use qualified immunity as a defense. And if there's not a case that has similar facts that the judge can draw from, they basically let the cops use qualified immunity as a defense, and basically it denies justice to people, to victims of police brutality. It ensures that victims don't get any money from the people that violated their rights. In many cases, it will be cops, police officers, and they don't even get their day in court. And it ensures that the problem is going to get worse in the future because it makes sure that plaintiffs or people that are bringing a lawsuit, it keeps them from recovering damages, like I said, unless a case has been decided on very, very similar facts. So in the defenses I've heard so far, like Counterpoints saying the frivolous lawsuit thing, there's procedures in court to ensure that frivolous lawsuits don't become a major problem. So there's already mechanisms in place to kind of combat that. So I don't think that's a good reason or argument to keep qualified immunity. But yeah, I'll end it there. We can talk more.
All right, so I'll open it up in 30 minutes on that one. So whoever wants to start with that, go ahead.
Yeah, can I start with Counterpoints, if you don't mind? Counterpoints, I'd like to get into this idea that you seem to think that police officers can shirk their own personal responsibility just because they were trained to shirk their responsibility. You can't suspend morality based on the fact that you were trained to suspend morality. Otherwise, all of the war crimes tribunals, which happened in the 20th century, would not have been correct, right? They should never have done any of those wartime tribunals because, after all, they were just following their training and following orders.
Are you trying to get me to defend COVID lockdowns? What are we doing here?
I asked you a specific question. That all soldiers who have ever been put up for trial, why couldn't they just use a qualified immunity defense and say we were just following orders?
They oftentimes did.
And was it immoral for them to be taken out back and shot after they were found guilty of war crimes?
No, because the separation, from what I understand, is their conduct was so departed so much from the common morality of humanity that their invocation of training wasn't a sufficient defense.
Right. So they were still held to a moral standard, what would be considered a moral standard that all humans should be held to, at least something that's not arbitrary. So why shouldn't we hold police to the same moral standards that we hold the average citizen to? I don't have the reasonable expectation that an average citizen can depart from morality and have qualified immunity based on their previous training. That seems fucking stupid to me.
Well, qualified immunity doesn't
you're
defend
ignoring
you in
the
every
qualified
single
part.
case.
Yeah, you guys are kind of ignoring the qualified part. So the qualified immunity can only be invoked when somebody is performing their job in line with state statute and in line with departmental policy.
Yes, I understand.
If you have an issue with state, okay, so if you have an issue with state statute or departmental policy, then you need to change the fucking law.
Why would you be able to depart from you being a moral person because the state statute says that it's okay for you to depart from being a moral person. That's insane.
What are
That's
we
an insane
talking?
defense.
What are we talking about?
Yeah,
I'm
So
talking
give me an
about
example.
ignoring reality.
any
That's what we're
situation.
talking
Any situation where it becomes okay for you to violate morality in order to enforce whatever the
Give me an
state and local
example.
municipality says is anything. It doesn't matter what it is.
Yes, it does matter
Any
what it
case.
is, because I'm not allowed to put my
That's the
hands
entire
on
point of
somebody else.
qualified immunity.
Hold on. No.
Oh, yeah.
Stop.
I'll give you an
Don't-
example. I'll
Don't
give you an
act like I'm
example.
saying wild shit. Don't act like I'm saying wild shit.
I'll just
saying
give you
wild
an
shit.
example.
Uh-huh.
Example. Let's assume for a second that within I would say within like a morality clause, police don't have a duty to respond. They don't actually have a duty to respond to a crime which is going on, and we all know that that's true, right? So let's say a woman is being violated horribly inside of her home, and she calls. Okay, there's no such duty for the police officers to respond. Shouldn't they be held account for the fact that they're not actually responding to that? But you say no, because they're in line with the law and what the state says and what the state doesn't say, et cetera, et cetera. They have qualified immunity where they can't be sued. They can't be gone after. We have case law on this. Why shouldn't they be held to the standard that we would hold a normal person to? Where in many states and many jurisdictions, if such a crime like that's going on, you have a duty to report it immediately or you go to jail.
Okay. So I think you're still you're saying that you're understanding it, but I don't think you are, or at least you're ignoring it. The qualified part would mean that law enforcement would have to do what is in line with their normal training and their normal policy procedure and the normal law. So that means that they would have to respond to the call. They would show up. And then if they did a perimeter on the outside, because this is where the case law, as far as like duty to respond or whatever the fuck, is hinky with, mass shootings. So then at that point, if they're just sitting on the outside and that person is raped or murdered, I think that the person does have an argument to say that this is not in line with departmental procedure. This is not in line with their training and previous cases. This is not in line with what they did. They acted negligently, and as a result, this person lost their life or was raped and tortured in a way
they could.
that is not common.
Hang on, they could have a case
would
for the
end their
recourse.
qualified portion
It
and then
could.
leave them open to suit.
Wait, it could. But also they could still rely on the qualified immunity portion of this. And this is problematic.
You understand this isn't like Michael Scott in The Office saying that he declares bankruptcy in the middle of a fucking office and he says, I declare bankruptcy.
What's your point?
That's not how qualified immunity
I didn't
works.
say it was.
You have to prove qualified immunity
I get
in order
it.
to invoke it.
Yes, but it shouldn't even be there for you to be able to invoke in the first place. Why would you invoke anything against a moral statute? It's insane. You have a moral duty at that point to do what you're supposed to do.
If they're acting morally, then they should be able to invoke qualified immunity. You're saying they're acting immorally. You would have to prove that they're acting immorally.
Why would that be? Why would it follow? Wait, that makes no sense. Why would it follow that they're acting morally in order to invoke qualified immunity if the situation that you and I just agreed has the potential to happen is immoral counterpoints?
I don't even think that this situation happens where cops just don't show up to a rape.
It does. Listen, there is case law on this that they do not have to respond. And yes, there are situations. Hang on. There are situations, many situations. I could point to one, Rittenhouse, where no, the cops don't show up all the time. And who's holding them responsible for this? Nobody.
True.
Should they be held responsible for it? Yes.
So do you think that every time that there's a riot in the city, every person in the city should be able to sue the police department for failing to protect their property?
If you're saying to me that that the police department's job is to protect and serve the citizens of the United States, and that's where all my tax dollars are going, then when I call those motherfuckers, they better show up. If they're not showing up, and hang on, stop. Let me finish the argument, and then you can respond. If they're not showing up because of some fucking protocol where they feel like, oh, well, that might have put whatever the protocol is, I don't know. Right. In your particular case, you said they're waiting for backup. So they decided not to go into the house to stop the rape. So they have qualified immunity because they're going with department procedure. I think that the standard for that from the homeowner or for whoever the person is, they should not be able to rely on the immunity standards. And there's probably hundreds of such examples that I can give for that. I think that you should be held to the same standard as every other human being on planet Earth is held to when it comes to this. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, so let's just run down this example. Let's use Rittenhouse. It's the perfect example, okay? There's a riot downtown. Law enforcement officers are out in force. I almost guarantee you that they called everybody and their fucking mom into work that day. They're set up in riot police. They're patrolling. They're doing what they're doing. They're protecting essential sites within the city. But because there's 10,000 fucking rioters and there's 200 police, they can't even protect their own police department, let alone a whole bunch of property within the city. So as a result, a bunch of property within the city gets destroyed. So what you're saying is on the taxpayer's dime, instead of the police department saying, we had 200 cops on the road, they were all actively responding to the violence that was on the streets. They were doing the best with what they could in line with their training, experience, policy, procedure, and state stuff. As a result, you can't sue us. Good luck repairing your business. You're saying that the city should be open to suit and they should have to defend every single suit that somebody brings forward.
So two responses here. The first response is, in this particular case, the suit would be transcendent to the governor should have called into the fucking National Guard, or the mayors who should have called in the National Guard. That's one. Okay.
That's not answering the question.
The suit, yeah, it is. The suit wouldn't even go. Yeah, it wouldn't go to the police department to begin with. It would go to what's transcendent over the city, which would be the mayor. And does the mayor have a responsibility if such options are available to them to do it? Yes. When you give people a huge right to go in and burn with total immunity, which they did, and call off the National Guard resources, which they did, yes, you should be held fucking responsible, which they weren't.
Hang on. Do you know who's not going to be accountable?
Hang on, I just want you to respond.
I want to interject.
You're going to be able to. I'm almost done. Okay, and then I would like you to respond to what happened in Parkland, where you saw a motherfucker run the fuck away. I'd like to see you respond to that too.
I just want to clarify. Just really quick before we go on, I just want to clarify something. When we're talking about qualified immunity, we're not talking about the department. We're talking about individuals, right? So this whole, like, there's a very different thing. We're talking about like the rape example that you were talking about earlier versus this riot example. This riot example is not a qualified immunity case because it's not a case of an individual action of an individual police officer. It's an issue of the department. There's no qualified immunity to do with that entire conversation of rioting at all.
All right.
Right.
Okay. So in 2014, police officer, was a birthday party, and a police officer was chasing a suspect through the backyard. The whole family was in the backyard, and the cop, there was a family dog, and the cop said he felt that he was in danger from this dog who wasn't attacking him according to all the court testimony and witnesses. The cop shot at the dog twice. First time he missed him, and then he shot at the dog again and hit a 10-year-old child. The mom filed a $2 million lawsuit against the city, and the officer was protected by qualified immunity. I will send the link so you guys can just look over it real quick. And this is something we can. This is an actual case that we can jump into. I think absolutely that the cop here should be held liable. Oh, sorry, I sent that to the wrong person. Should be held liable. And like what you're saying, Counterpoints, is that that the officers should not have reasonable. They should be able to violate your constitutional rights and be protected. Yeah, but they should be, yes. Thank you, Sanso. They should be able to violate your constitutional rights and have this qualified immunity, quote unquote, protection in court. And that's like that's the excuse they use, and they expand that to pretty much give law enforcement blanket protection from accountability, especially in situations like the example I just brought up.
Do you think that cop meant to shoot the 10-year-old child?
No, not at all. But he should have had reason. His training should have told him that was an inappropriate time to be firing your lethal weapon with a whole family, including children, around. You're firing at a dog.
Lots of cops are pussies when it comes to dogs. You're not going to catch me defending any of that shit. So
yeah.
So should they have immunity?
Yeah, they have the guy. Yeah, should he be able to get away without any kind of?
Who should pay $2 million?
Whether or not Well, the city probably should be doing that, but like, should there be no repercussions legally for the cop who obviously used an
Killed a
unreasonable
10-year-old
amount of force
or shot a
and
10-year-old?
I don't think they shot a 10-year-old. Like if
just put the
the
article in
training
Discord,
is
by the
like,
way.
you know, the basic laws of gun ownership, you know, like be aware of like what's beyond your target or like where you're pointing your fucking gun and you happen to shoot a 10.
Yeah, I guarantee you I'd be in prison if that happened to me. If I was worried that a neighbor's dog was attacking me and I fired at the dog, and what ended up happening was I hit a 10-year-old, I'd be in prison.
Wrong. Hold on. You're fucking wrong.
No, I'm not wrong.
Yeah, you're wrong. So let's say
Counterpoints, if he's wrong, then there's no reason for qualified immunity. If he's wrong about that, then there's no need for
Let
this.
him answer really quick.
Okay,
I want to hear what his answer is.
He's not performing his official duties in the service of whatever the fuck. So let's say that Andrew is a fucking electronics maintenance person. He's going on to shut off somebody's fucking electricity at their house. And that person has a Rottweiler in the backyard, and the Rottweiler starts fucking gnawing on his goddamn leg. He freaks out. He pulls out his concealed weapons pistol, and he shoots at the fucking Rottweiler. He misses. He hits the house, and he hits a 10-year-old and doesn't kill the 10-year-old. He would have the ability to defend himself in court and say, I'm not liable. I'm not responsible for this because I was attacked by a dog. I thought that I was in imminent threat of death or great bodily harm.
Yeah, in criminal court.
Used deadly force
That's criminal court.
Okay,
That's
no, but
criminal court.
even from a liabilities perspective, if he's performing his fucking job, he could defend himself.
But the thing is, that would be
that's involuntary manslaughter. Involuntary manslaughter is involuntary manslaughter, regardless of whether you're a cop.
Counterpoints.
Yeah, do you think that they would convict him for shooting at a
But
fucking Rottweiler?
Involuntary manslaughter is involuntary manslaughter, regardless of what your job is.
Matter. Hold up.
What if it was a Cavalier King Charles?
Shut up. Everybody shut up. Everybody
You guys talk one at a time. Go ahead.
Y'all keep saying criminal like you got some kind of fucking own. Even on civil, you could probably get away with a civil issue and still say it's not my job as an employee of GP&E to get mauled to death by a Rottweiler. You would still have a civil defense
by qualified immunity.
Then there's no need for qualified immunity.
You're right, except for the cost of litigation and who pays the fucking bills.
Okay, so if the question is who's going to pay the bills, then counterpoints. Why is it that we allow the doctors to be responsible for the bill in the context of malpractice in the context of a hospital? This is different.
Yeah, I'm so happy you brought this up.
Yeah, why is this different than a doctor?
Why is it different? Do I need to Google what malpractice litigation costs the fucking United States general public on an annual basis to make my point? Like it's probably
doctors be allowed to use qualified immunity as a defense.
So should there be qualified immunity for doctors?
Yes.
Why?
Okay, so there should be qualified immunity for doctors.
If they say
qualified immunity for teachers.
Hold the fuck up.
Immunity.
If they say I did the job to the best of my ability in line with my fucking training. I did everything I was supposed to do as an official. Yeah, and they still have to litigate it.
Yes, that's
they still have to litigate it.
They still have to prove malpractice.
Okay, so the solution you're coming to is that you think that the solution you're coming to, is that you believe that all members of everyone who works for the government should be protected of their lawsuits, personal lawsuits, defended by the government across the board.
I think that's the way that it's going to. I think that's the way it's going to work.
Yeah, we're asking about an ought though.
Do these jobs.
We're asking about the ought.
I'm asking ought. It's not an is. It's an ought.
Yeah, should it?
Should that be the way that
Counterpoints? Should that be the way it goes?
Yeah, because I would like to have law enforcement officers who work in the cities. Yeah, I would.
Yeah, so you also want.
You'd like to have hold on. You'd like to have law enforcement. Do we not have doctors because there's not qualified immunity for doctors? Do we not have teachers because there's no qualified immunity for teachers? Why is this specifically there's no qualified immunity for firefighters? I'm sorry?
Yes, there is.
What is it?
Any government
for teachers?
Yeah.
Qualified immunity applies to any
there's not.
official. Yes, it does, motherfucker. I'm literally looking at the fucking statute link right here. It's any state official
take that
performing a state function.
Wait, hold on.
But okay, so all right, so qualified immunity right now does not refer to doctors because it only refers to state officials. Are you saying that it should include doctors? also as well?
I'm saying,
And the
that
PG&E
there should be a
repairman?
there should be a legal defense. The only reason why it applies to public officials is because public work is required in order for society to function, and it's not exactly rich. I don't know if you guys have worked in the public sector, but you'll retire with a dog shit fucking salary, okay? So nobody's fucking getting rich in the public sector. I don't know if y'all knew that, but that's
Politicians are.
Losing all their money.
all right.
in
Haha.
civil cases,
Good.
counterpoints.
Good.
The city
Oh,
pays
so let's
that.
talk about the private sector real quick. I think that doctors should have effectively a good faith defense where if they can articulate and argue, this is what I was trained, this is the procedures of the hospital, this is in line with state statute, then I don't think that case should be litigated. I do think it should be dismissed.
They can do that now.
Do you think that's
No,
that's
they
second-
can't.
do you
They
think
very
yes, they
often
can.
have to
frivolous
litigate.
do you think there's a bunch of frivolous medical malpractice cases going on right now where the doctor just a patient died in surgery with no fault of the doctors, that doctors are being made to pay millions out to these cases?
Yeah, but it have to be proven
think-
and disproven, though.
I think that because of the complex nature of medical practice, those things are very often not clear cut, and as a result, they do have to be litigated.
Yeah, but you
So
said you
even
wanted
if you
it for
have
the
something that's
PG&E
potentially not frivolous-
repairman. You said you
Yeah,
wanted it
but-
for the PG&E repairman too.
Yeah, I do think the PG&E repairman should have a good faith defense to say, "Hey,
Yeah, but
I was doing my job and I
You're
got fucking
smuggling.
mauled by a
So
pit bull."
you're smuggling this in so bad faith.
I'm not.
You say he should have a
Oh,
good
You've
faith.
known me for years. I
hang
say
on.
what I think. Oh, no.
Hang on.
Andrew, you hang on. Okay.
Okay, I'll hang
You've
on.
known me for years.
Yeah.
I say what I think. Don't
Yeah,
accuse me of
But here's the
things
thing.
I don't think.
This particular argument, okay? No, you're not a bad faith debater. I'm not saying that. But this particular argument seems to be being done in bad faith because in this particular case, what you're saying, and you keep smuggling this in, is that these people should have some kind of good faith defense on their side if one of these situations happen, but they already do. That's the thing I don't understand. This has been pointed out to you 5 times.
Okay, so let me expand this part of it so maybe you can understand where I'm at.
All right.
I think that litigation, having lawyers going back and forth and arguing about shit, is very costly. And I think that there's perverse incentives involved for litigators where they're getting a piece of the pie, regardless of whether or not they win or lose. So they are going to constantly want to file, even if they have bad cases. So when you open up the public chest for municipalities, we're not talking about rich people, we're talking about cities and counties. And by the way, I used to work for a city. Total budget might have been, I don't know, 20 million a year, 30 million a year, or some shit like that. Then basically what's going to happen is those litigations, individual litigations over bad shootings, over fist fights, over improper arrests and all that kind of stuff, what's going to happen is those public budgets are going to get ransacked by fucking lawyers. And if there's anything that I hate worse than criminals, it's fucking lawyers. So
counterpoints.
But we're talking about if we're talking about the private sector where this qualified immunity doesn't exist now. Are you saying the private sector is getting ransacked by attorneys?
Yes.
So if that's true,
100%.
okay. So if that's true, and they're getting ransacked by attorneys with frivolous lawsuits and things like this, why would we give attorneys qualified immunity from filing such things? Because that's in line with their procedures, and they're this and they're that, and instead open it up so that we can go after them too, fucker.
Because lawyers are slippery lizard brain fucks, and you know this, who will use 10,000
they have
arguments to justify their behavior.
You're giving them qualified
You know this
immunity
and I know
too.
this.
You're giving them qualified immunity too. Counterpoints.
I just got two quick points. There are already various procedural safeguards that exist to allow courts to toss out frivolous lawsuits. We know that, and these things, coupled with the expensive nature of filing a lawsuit, is going to pretty much keep the public from filing frivolous lawsuits. And we also know that lawyers usually do not take on cases that they think they will lose. So if they are coming, so if there is a fist fight and something happens and this seems like a frivolous lawsuit, most lawyers would not accept that, and you have no evidence to show that they're going to automatically start accepting these frivolous lawsuits. And so yeah, it's going to be a losing effort, this whole frivolous lawsuit thing, from both sides. And I don't think this is a real problem.
I think it is a real problem. The reason why I think it's a real problem is because I just got done working in the insurance industry 12 hours ago. Do you know how many motherfuckers settle because they know that settling is less expensive than litigation? Do you know how many times frivolous motherfuckers file shit because they know they're going to get fucking money out of it? All the goddamn time. And you know the other thing about fucking public coffers? The way people view public coffers isn't that it's unlimited money, but that it's guaranteed money. So basically, municipalities might not have a lot of money, but they're going to get paid because it's tax revenue. So no, I think this entire thing is rife.
Wait, what'd you just say? Explain that last thing again. Municipalities have a lot of money. Yes.
Governments do not. Okay. Not all municipalities or counties have a lot of money, but they have guaranteed money. They have tax money, and they know that they're going to get fucking paid. So as a result, I think they're the perfect targets for fucking litigious motherfuckers. And on top of that, like, here's the other thing. Y'all keep saying this shit. Wait, hold up. Y'all keep saying this shit where you're like, well, Connor, you don't need qualified immunity because you can just fight it out in court and you can use your defense in order to make sure that the case gets dismissed. Here's the flip side of that shit. If you can prove that somebody is negligent or they broke departmental policy or they broke state statute, then you can sue that motherfucker. So, like, why don't I just turn to y'all and just say, like, the system ain't broke, don't fix it, because you can already sue somebody if you can prove that they did something negligent.
No, you can't because of qualified immunity.
Yes, you can. I guarantee you. I guarantee you.
No, you can't.
Does the police officer have to prove
the example that you gave me? The example that you gave me, cop running through a backyard. He's chasing a suspect. He fucking thinks that he's getting attacked by a dog. He pulls out his pistol and starts shooting. He hits a fucking 10-year-old. I guarantee you that he had to articulate. Yeah, I think they should probably pay an injury settlement to the kid for their medical bills. Absolutely.
But they didn't because of qualified immunity. Do you know?
Okay, I'm not the judge in that case. And by the way, like, I don't think the city is going to be compelled for that. But I guarantee you the cop had...
When you get a chance, just read the article.
Read it. Okay, I'll read the article in a second. But at the same time, I guarantee you, in order to invoke qualified immunity, the cop had to say, I was pursuing somebody. I was performing my official duties. I entered the backyard because I thought XYZ ABC. I saw the dog. I thought it was attacking me. As a result, I believe that I was an imminent threat of death or great bodily harm. I pulled my firearm. I fired a couple of rounds. I didn't mean to strike the child. I accidentally struck the child. I guarantee you that is their sworn written testimony. And if they're performing their duties in line with their fucking training and policy procedure and all that bullshit, that's why they were able to invoke qualified immunity.
So here's what...
And who do they invoke qualified immunity with, right? Because you're saying you don't want it to go to
the individual.
Litigation every single time.
They're saying it's against the cop.
Right. So when they invoke qualified immunity...
But you know the city's going to take that shit up.
Right. When they invoke qualified immunity, does that mean that they can't be brought to court, or that's just like their defense in court?
I'll literally read this right now to see if it's contradictory. My presumption would be that before you go to a court case, you file documentation and a judge reviews it. So I'm presuming even if it wasn't a jury of peers, there was somebody who reviewed this documentation and saw whether or not it was worth going to court, right? Because if this person had acted negligently, then it should go to court. Now, there is a perverse incentive here that I will cop to, which is if a judge is sympathetic to the municipality, and let's just say that like a city mayor is giving this dude like a kickback, he's sending $10,000 to his fucking PayPal, that way he dismisses the case or some shit. That's just called corruption, and you should prosecute those motherfuckers. But if this judge is acting in good faith, then it is what it is.
So the reason that this was allowed, that the cop was allowed to use qualified immunity, is because there's a statute or there's a clause in the law that says that the person filing the lawsuit has to present a similar case, a materially similar case. So the reason that the Corbett family in this case could not present the judge with a materially similar case from the United States Supreme Court, so that they had to allow the cop to use qualified immunity. Like,
Okay, that's fucked up.
Because this never happened before. The courts are saying they have no way to determine if the cop used reasonable judgment in firing his weapon.
That
when
doesn't sound correct to me at all. Yeah.
Well, here's
I mean,
the thing,
I'll read it. I'm reading it right now.
That's the problem. That's the danger.
Connor, let me also bring this up. If the whole component for why you want qualified immunity for the private sector, here's my honest assessment. I think that you're saying that because you want to keep it with police officers. That's why I think so. And maybe you haven't really dove into it, but I don't think it's a good idea. But if your kind of argument is it's due to the fact that there's going to be tons and tons and tons of frivolous lawsuits. If we don't allow that, like there is right now, why wouldn't you just make a law that if an attorney was found to do a frivolous lawsuit, they got fined like millions of dollars for the frivolous lawsuit? That seems like it would solve that problem, and you wouldn't have
We
to.
already have that. There's slap suit laws, yeah.
Sometimes in some states, this type of thing. But why wouldn't you make laws that were punitive to attorneys for frivolous lawsuits instead of trying to say that it's okay or give qualified immunity to a PG&E worker who pulls out a Glock and starts trying to smoke a Rottweiler and accidentally hits a 10-year-old kid? Of course, we're going to hold him fucking responsible for that. Why wouldn't we?
Yeah, but do you know what would happen in that circumstance? Is probably the liability insurance for PG&E would pay, not the individual electrician. But
the criminal portion of the electrician being held responsible, that's not going to go away. And that's what they're talking about with cops. They're saying that their criminal responsibility goes away by utilizing qualified immunity, whereas the PG&E workers not. If you're saying you want qualified immunity for them, the criminal portion does. That's the problem that they're having.
Wait, just a clarification.
I could see it.
Are you talking
it looks
about?
like we're talking about civil right now, but
Yeah, are we talking exclusively about civil, or would you also want it for
well, I mean, this encompasses both, right? We're talking about both.
Yeah, so I'm asking counterpoints. Do you want it for both?
Yeah, of course. Why the fuck? Like, so for instance, like let's just say that it isn't a Cocker Spaniel, right? Let's say that it is a fucking Rottweiler. Do you just want to tell cops, hey, sorry, if you're in a foot chase with somebody, it's your job to get mauled by a dog unless you can 100% guarantee that every single thing in the background is not going to get hit by a bullet?
Listen, I think that everything...
I mean, you can say that shit. I just think you're going to get less cops.
Hang on. I think everything should be assessed on a case-by-case basis. That doesn't mean that the guy should actually go to prison because he was in a life or death situation and he fired shots. And I think that would be understood by a jury, just like it would in the case of the PG&E worker right now if that happened. And that the jury would probably say no, or the state would say, no, we're not going to prosecute based on the fact that if we take this to the jury is going to say, listen, it was a life or death situation. You fired, you did everything you could do to protect yourself, and this was accidental. I think the state would dismiss such a case. I think that your argument, though, that this is just due to, frivolity of lawsuits, I think that can be addressed separately without having to deal with the whole qualified immunity issue at all.
Okay, sorry, I'm reading at the same time, but basically I stand where I stand, which is I think that qualified means qualified, which means that you assert that you were doing your job correctly. I think that this should largely be available to private and the public sector to dismiss frivolous bullshit. So that's my position.
But that's not that. I understand what you're saying, but that's not how, like in practice, that's not how it comes about. It doesn't.
Sure, and I'll admit that there's perverse incentives.
And people are just filing all these lawsuits against these poor cops for just doing their job. These lawsuits are filed this defense of qualified immunity is used in cases where the cops did break the law, where they did violate somebody's either Fourth Amendment right or they violated their rights in some way. Now, I know, Andrew, you said rights aren't real, but according to the law, cops aren't allowed to do that. And qualified immunity, basically, I mean, if you read about it, in theory, I understand what you're saying. Like, I get what you're saying. Like, you're like, if we take qualified immunity away, cops aren't going to be able to do their jobs. They're going to be scared to perform their duties because everybody's going to be suing them, and the courts are going to just be backed up with all these lawsuits from the cops just doing their jobs. But in reality, what this protects the cops from is when they violate people's constitutional rights qualified immunity kicks in to say that, oh, in fact, as a matter of fact, it was reasonable that they violated your rights, and no, you don't have any civil
yeah, but okay, but I'm reading this here, and I understand the quote that you said, but I'm gonna understand this a little bit differently than you. Okay, and and just to share, because I saw that DM, I'm okay with going past. Well, hold on, is it 10:50 right now? I can only go past by like 5 or 10 minutes. I got to take care of a baby. So if y'all want to keep going without me, that's totally fine. But I'm gonna have to dip in like
because I realized we went a lot longer on the 2 prompts there, and that third one we kind of covered with the first prompt. So I figured I'd drop the third one and go to the fourth. But I just want to know if everyone's like whoever's okay. I'm cool to keep it going.
Yeah.
Fine.
So
yeah, I'm fine. I'm fine to keep going. Connor, by the way, congratulations on your baby again. Super happy to see that. Nobody's breeding anymore, so good job there.
Why you gotta make it fucking weird, bro? Why you gotta make it fucking weird, bro?
He's white. He's got blue eyes. Okay, I'm furthering the white race. So, anyways, the point being that what they were saying is that there was no case law that would specifically prohibit Vickers from taking the action that he took and understand that it was a violation of the Fourth Amendment rights of the 10-year-old or whatever. So what they're saying is that there was no clear case law that the police officer would have been aware of that would have told him that shooting at the dog was fucking stupid. Now, obviously, I think that's fucking retarded, right? Like, you see if I had this stupid fucking pit that was growling at me and fucking bowing up on me. And I heard the owner calling for its fucking name. And basically I started screaming its name at it. And I was like, Susha, go fuck home. And like, as a result, this dog that was bowing up on me that I probably could have fucking shot was like, oh shit, I'm in trouble. And then fucking ran away. So like, I think this cop is probably a pussy. Like, I'm not going to say he's not a pussy. I'm just saying like, this is the kind of shit that's gonna.
Does it say what kind of dog it was? Wasn't it like a cocker spaniel or something?
Unfortunately.
So what I would say, the shooting the kid or whatever, like medical damages and all that kind of stuff. $2 million for special and punitive damages or whatever the fuck it says here. I would say, if I was a judge working in this fucking shit, I would say that the city's liable. The city owes the fucking medical bills or some shit like that. That's what I would say. But holding the officer individually accountable and then saying that the officer owes $2 million and then therefore the city owes fucking $2 million, I don't know. So, it is what it is.
I don't think so. We know he can afford it.
But if you're saying that he can afford it, it's not the cop who's paying it. It's the city.
Yeah, I agree.
Wait, so all right, so in this case that I sent to you, so it would, if this went through and they were held liable for $2 million, you're saying the city would have to pay that or the cop would have to pay that?
I'm saying cops don't have $2 million. That's what I'm saying.
No. I'm just asking what is, not what should be. Like, how does this? I don't know how that part of it works. Like,
to be honest, I don't either. So the truth is that there's a certain amount of liability insurance that law enforcement departments have for injuries, for this kind of stuff. There's also union representation. So for instance, I was paying for a lawyer to defend me if I got into a thing, and I think I had a $2 million or $3 million limit. I don't know if that was litigation and settlement or if that was just litigation. To be honest, I have no fucking idea. So
okay,
but to be honest, like let's just run it real quick. Let's just say that the city says, "Fuck you, we're not paying this," and then the court says, "Cop, you're paying this." That means because the cop tried to shoot at the dog and accidentally hit a kid, I don't think he shot the kid on purpose. That means that his retirement is gone. That means that he probably has to open up a second mortgage on his house. That means that he has to leave law enforcement in order to get a private sector job. All of that kind of stuff. And I think that if you do that even a few times in law enforcement, you think you have problems recruiting law enforcement now, you're going to have infinitely more problems recruiting law enforcement officers in the future.
Well, with that argument, I do agree that the city should have to pay that out. Like, individual officers should not have to pay themselves. However, I think that they should have to go through this process, and if they do find that the officer is liable for damages, that the city should pay that out, not the individual officer. I do agree with you on that.
Okay. I think you guys know my stance, so I don't want to repeat it.
Okay, cool.
All right, I think we've come to that one. If everyone wants to give a closing on this, and I know you said you had to go shortly here, anyways, Counterpoint. So I wanted you to get at least a closing on this too. So if we could start with STV Philly here on this one. So just give a 2-minute closing on this one here.
Sure. So the myths of qualified immunity, that that it's gonna have all these frivolous lawsuits, and law enforcement needs these protections. There's a lot of different arguments that I don't find very convincing about the use of qualified immunity. I feel like it would hold officers accountable. Counterpoints made a good point about it being hard to recruit officers, and if they didn't have these sort of protections, that it would make it that much harder. I don't know how true that is, but I think qualified immunity takes away the right of citizens to hold officers accountable if they do fuck up in a way that the courts finds is outside of their duty, basically. So yeah, if you're doing your job, you fuck up, that's one thing. But if you're intentionally negligent, like I feel like this officer was, or if you if you fuck up to the point where you're shooting 10-year-old kids at birthday parties, I think you should probably be held accountable in the civil trial, and then the city would have to pay you out, and this would incentivize the city to train their officers better, because I don't think they want to be paying $2 million lawsuits from shooting kids at birthday parties. So that's I think training the officers better would just help in so many ways, not only with this, but with so many things. But yeah, I'll leave it there. And also, one more thing, I have to run too. I have a hard out at 11. I do apologize.
Okay, yeah, no worries. Sanzo?
Yeah, I think that after this conversation, I'm a little bit more sympathetic with Connor's side of things. It feels like we have to have something there that is going to have some protection if you're going to be doing something like in the capacity of like a police officer. There's got to be some kind of protection there for doing what you're supposed to do. So after like hearing the arguments from everyone, I think Counterpoints is a little bit more reasonable on this.
Alrighty, Quibbles.
I think that it's important to think about the differences between the civil and the criminal sort of lawsuits here. I think that on civil lawsuits, these Counterpoints, you're fully correct. On criminal, I think that there's a little bit more nuance there. I'm not entirely sure. I'd have to give it a little bit more thought, because you definitely brought in a lot of arguments that I thought were pretty good on it. I probably still lean against having criminal, but yeah.
Alrighty, we'll go to Gray Pill.
Yeah, listen to everybody argument. I pretty much learned a lot, so thank you for the article, Philly. Actually leaning toward qualified immunity. Just simple fact is, you just need some. Oh, somebody. Okay. Yeah. I'm sorry. He had to leave. Yeah, I'm leaning toward that. Only simple fact is, hey, but at the same time, from the last conversation, you just need proper training with the officers. Police need protection too, in some way, shape, or form. It sucks that they shoot a dog and end up shooting other people. That just sucks. Same example. Counter used for the electrician guy. Yeah. It just sucks, but just understand we in America, so everybody can sue everybody. I could just sue you for just looking at me wrong. That's where we at today.
Alrighty. And there was going to be Counterpoints there, so I'll let you go, Counterpoints.
Yeah, sorry about that. It literally just kicked me out randomly. I don't know what happened, but anyways, yeah. So I feel the way I feel. I think that people who act in good faith, especially when they do high risk jobs, they need to know that if they're doing the best of their ability with a job, that they have a decent amount of latitude with what's going to happen. You are talking about $40,000 a year, $50,000 a year in public employees who effectively wrestle drug addicts on a weekly or nightly basis in order to, make communities safe. Whether or not they actually do that, we could debate that another night. But the point is that these people are not making a lot of money. They're taking a lot of risk, and oftentimes they're very passionate about the job. So if you turn this into a raw financial calculation of I'm going to make 50 grand a year, but then if I get into trouble, it's going to be my ass and I'm going to have to, litigate this shit. I think you're going to lose a lot of qualified people, more than we already do. I think you're going to have problems with recruitment more than we already do. I think litigators, I think lawyers are going to take advantage of the situation and they're going to pillage public coffers. And I don't want any of those things. Sometimes when y'all were asking me like moral questions, I understand that you just want like a simple moral answer, but I also want to think logically about how this is going to impact law enforcement employees, how it's going to impact municipal budgets, how it's going to impact law enforcement, and how it's going to affect crime rates. And so all of those calculations are going into my thought process. So I'm sorry if I wasn't simple enough in my answers, but yeah, I deeply appreciate this. It was a beautiful conversation. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Before you go, Counterpoints.
Yeah,
because it's my.
I want to hear
now.
your outro. Yeah,
I want to remind you that I don't think you're a bad faith debater. I just want to remind you of that. I just thought you had an argument that I thought.
I love
was
you,
bad
buddy.
Faith. Okay,
That's all good.
That's all I'm saying. Okay. That said, I do think that you're wrong.
Yeah, quit glazing.
Right.
All right.
Yeah. That said, I do think that you're completely wrong on this, and I think that the reason that you are is because you were a cop and you're kind of kissing their asses a little bit, but they have not done all that well by us. Now, does that mean that they can't? No, but that doesn't mean that I'm some huge fan of law enforcement out of the gate, and I don't think that giving them any, and it's not just qualified immunity. I mean, there's other kinds of immunity that they get as well. And it's like, this is kind of known that, hey, we'll hand officers all these fucking different immunities because they need it. It's necessary to do their job, but nobody else gets them. You know what I mean? That's bullshit. And we also know that officers do operate under a fraternity, and the pretense that they don't is insane. They already cover each other's asses plenty. And it's like, I do think that, if I don't have those immunities, why the fuck do you get those immunities? I think that's bullshit. Just me personally, like you personally, I think what I think, right? But this whole panel wasn't, I think what I think. I don't feel like we had much of an argument here, really, to be honest with you. I was trying to find one, just like trying to find any way I could to get a rumble going on in here.
Oh, he was just pretending to be racist earlier, guys. Don't worry.
There's always next week.
Yeah, that's it. Before you counterpoints and
also, you were pretending that you weren't. That's the craziest part.
Before you guys go, I want you guys to give yourselves a
shout out. More racist than you, Andrew. Okay.
Yes. So if you're interested in any of my hot takes tonight, then go ahead and type in Counterpoints into YouTube. You should find Counterpoints 40K first. That is my breakdown of the Warhammer universe. It's doing quite well. We're about to break 50,000 subs. It's very exciting. There's an excellent TV series called Pariah Nexus. The first episode just came out, and it is fucking awesome. So if you want to see good science fantasy, science fiction violence, go ahead and check out my main channel. And then if you want my more political stuff, down in the description, there's Counterpoints Coliseum. That's where I'll point political debates like this. And then there's Counterpoints, where is a high quality essay channel. I don't post as much as I want to, but we're still not full time yet. But no, thank you. I really appreciate it. I parasocially love everybody here. It was very fun.
Thank you for
I
being
still got
here.
that bone to pick with you, Connor.
We can we do that? Day. We could schedule it. We can schedule it.
Yeah,
for
we'll
real.
get to that. We'll get to that.
All right.
Bye. Have a good one, buddy.
Bye.
All right. STV Philly, give yourself a shout out before you go.
Yeah, so like I said before, I like to come on this side of the internet to kind of just have different conversations than the kind that I have over on my channel. I'm really into like politics and arguing from my perspective. I'm I think I'm starting to get the hang of it. I'm just starting out the debate thing, so I'm not really have to get my style down with that. But I don't really have anything to promote. I just wanted to say thank you for having me, SpeakeaZy. It was nice meeting you. Andrew, I've probably been watching you for like 2-3 years now. It's nice to finally meet you. And Sanso, we've talked before. And also the Great Pill podcast. I've never met you before. And Quibbles, I've never met you before. So I just wanted to say hi to everybody. Nice to meet you. And so with that, I'll leave. Thanks for having me, SpeakeaZy, and you guys be safe.
Anytime. Thank you for being here.
Have a good night, man.
Yes, sir. Y'all too. All right. Bye-bye.
All righty. Down to 4. So we'll get into this next prompt here. Like I said,
I'm not sure I'm able to do another prompt. I think I'm good for the night. I'm sorry. I got a bunch of work to do.
Quibbles, you're gonna quit too?
Goodbye, Quibbles.
I think you're scared. Are you scared, Quibbles?
Goodbye, Quibbles.
I'll be the one left
Of course
here, okay?
I'm terrified of everything. Oh wait, shit. Am I leaving Sanso alone as the only lefty?
It's fine, dude.
Oh, I am
I'm high
too.
as fuck,
Okay.
and I'm ready
All
to
right.
fight.
You're abandoning
I support
him.
you. Be high and yeah. Okay. What am I gonna shout out? I'm gonna shout out Big Brother is great this season. Suri Fields is amazing. Okay. Everyone needs to watch Big Brother because she's absolutely fantastic. She's the only person who has managed to be the best person on Big Brother in the history of Big Brother. Absolutely no strategy. It's extraordinary. Truly, watching her is an art. She just understands this game better than anyone in the world.
Amazing.
There's so much. It's amazing. Yeah. What else do I have to shout out? Nothing. That's it. Just watch Big Brother.
Quibbles, shut the fuck up and go away, Quibbles. Holy shit. What do we got to fucking do to get rid of this guy? I just can't fucking take it anymore.
No, Big Brother.
He was serious about the show?
I guess so. All right. Fucking Quibbles. He does like to quibble, that's for sure. All right. The last prompt we got here was, should mental health professionals be sent out to respond to certain situation instead of cops?
Can I
And with
open on
that,
this?
how can we better equip police officers to handle mental health related calls? Yes, you can open, Andrew.
Okay, my opening is that Sansal's position is going to be neutral.
No.
That's my whole opening. Go ahead,
All right.
Sansal.
I think that for the most part, I would say no. I don't think that we should be sending only mental health people out to deal with certain issues because those things can turn violent very fucking quickly. I don't know why Andrew thinks I'm neutral on everything. Maybe he just wants me to be like an ultra soy fucking leftist that doesn't know anything about anything so that he can epically dunk me. But I do
it all the time, Sansal. It's good for you.
I don't know. Every time you've talked about religion with me the past couple of times, you've fallen a little bit short, but we're talking about police right now.
Wait, when was this?
Like the past couple of times that we've
You mean
talked.
never? Because we never had a religious discussion ever? Would you like to have a religious discussion right now?
We've
So that
literally
sounds
had,
like it's a lot more fun.
10
Let's do it right this
conversations.
second. Let's
I'll
do
put
it
it
right
down
this
for that
10
one.
second.
I'll put it down
conversations
for the religious
about
one.
fucking religious conversations. I don't
Hey,
know why you don't think
the
we've ever
floor is
had one.
open. You guys go ahead.
I don't want to fucking destroy SpeakeaZy's little debate thing here. I don't want to fucking take it over.
Well, if
but
you have
don't
an
let
argument for the other thing, give that argument. Go ahead.
Yeah, Sansal, give that argument.
God doesn't exist, probably.
That's your argument for real?
What? That's your argument?
What is the fucking argument that we're supposed to be having right now? I don't even know what the fuck we're supposed to be arguing.
Yeah,
You just
I
wanted
don't
to
know
fucking
either.
take
Okay,
you took the entire fucking
should mental health professionals be sent out to respond to certain situations instead of cops? And
No.
then
Yeah,
how
no,
can
that's
we
fucking
better
retarded.
equip?
Yeah, no, that's stupid. Yeah, that's
How
dumb.
can we better equip mental health professionals?
No.
Give them a
How
fucking
can we
gun
better
and a
equip police
badge.
officers? How can we better equip police officers to handle mental
I
health?
do have a
related
response,
calls?
I think, to
Increase the funding.
Sansal's argument is that like Sansal's probably stupid, probably right. It's like,
Wait, how does that? No, the argument is that no one could ever know whether or not there is a God.
So it's unfalsifiable.
Yeah, it's unfalsifiable, and then you get mad at other people
Are the
for having
laws of
morality.
logic? Yeah, are the laws of logic unfalsifiable?
Necessarily, yeah.
Okay, what are the 3 laws of logic, Sanzel?
Fuck, I don't know, dude. I'm high as fuck right
you
now.
don't
I
know
told
the
you
laws-
earlier. I
you
can
don't
have a
know the laws of
generalized
logic?
conversation about religion.
You've
But I don't
been
have these
busy.
memorized
You've
right
been
this
busy
second.
wrecking me. So you don't even know the laws of fucking logic. There's only 3 of them, Sanzel.
Off the top of my head, no, I don't know what the fuck.
Can you
this
give
is
me
supposed to be
one? Can you tell me one? You can't tell me
One
one
second, I
law
fucked
of
up something
logic,
with my
Sanzel?
chat. Who fucking cares about that right now? Which laws of logic? I don't even know if we're arguing about fucking religion or if we're talking about the fucking mental health thing. I said the mental health thing was fucking retarded, and now we're talking about the laws of logic. All right, and the line of logic to get here is really fucking stupid. So
How would you
like,
know?
pick a fucking topic.
You don't know what the laws of logic are for the line of logic to get there, Sanzel.
The order of events. Does that make you happier?
Anyway, back to this. You're right. I don't want to hijack the whole string. I don't think that that's fair to the other guest, right? But I think it's kind of
Or
a
to the
boring
host.
topic. I think it's kind of a
I think we
boring
probably all
topic.
agree is the problem.
Yeah, we all agree.
Yeah, I'm more focused on the
Yeah.
solution.
If y'all agree on this one, like I said,
Yeah, I'm more
it's,
focused on the solution of it all.
If you guys wanted to keep going off, it's definitely fine. Like we lost half the panel. It's
Yeah, so I am
Yeah.
happy to continue to engage with Sanzel here on this topic. So Sanzel, I just wanted to know, because you have been wasting me on the topic of religion. Sanzel, how do you have knowledge, epistemology? Can you tell me that? How do you know things?
How do you know things?
Mm-hmm.
By observing the world outside of us and getting the replicating results. That's how something we can know that something is a thing, right?
So external to your brain. So your brain processes data, and then from the data, that's how you know things.
Yep.
Right. Okay.
Qualia data.
Can you ever know anything for certain?
Can we ever know something for certain? I don't think so.
Do you know that?